On December 2nd, Israel withdrew from ceasefire negotiations with Hamas and promptly resumed strikes on them. This decision came after Hamas included deceased prisoners in their list of hostages for release. Israeli forces utilized advanced sonar systems and satellite measurement technology from the U.S. to accurately map out Hamas's extensive underground tunnel network, which spans over 500 kilometers. The use of this technology not only ensured precision strikes, but also provided substantial evidence for any potential international tribunal. It proves that Israel did not violate the laws of war or human rights principles during its military operations. In their strikes against the Hamas tunnel system, the Israeli military deployed miniature vehicles and tactical ground robots. These compact yet powerful devices effortlessly navigated through narrow staircases and corners, providing high-definition imagery that allowed the Israeli forces to gain a detailed understanding of the tunnel layouts and potential threats. This technological advantage effectively weakened Hamas's underground tactical capabilities. It rendered the age-old CCP tunnel warfare tactics less effective in modern times. We can see Hamas had become completely ineffective and posed no threat to the U.S. military. At the same time, Israel's actions in Gaza were akin to catching a mouse. Therefore, the Chinese Communist Party and Russia launched a new battlefield. Houthi militants began attacking international merchant ships in the Red Sea region. On December 3rd, 3 individual merchant vessels in the southern Red Sea region were attacked 4 times by Houthi militants. The U.S. Navy Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, USS Carney, swiftly responded to distress signals from the ships and provided assistance. The first attack occurred at approximately 9:15 a.m. local time when Houthi militants fired an anti-ship ballistic missile at the cargo ship MV Unity Explorer, fortunately missing its target. Around 12:35 p.m., the Unity Explorer experienced another missile attack, resulting in minor damage. At 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m., MV Number 9 and MV Sophie 2 were each subjected to missile attacks. During several hours of assistance, the USS Carney successfully intercepted 3 drones that were approaching the ship. The U.S. military stated that it was uncertain whether the USS Carney was the target. Houthi militants launching missile attacks on commercial ships pose a significant threat to international trade. The United States Central Command has made it clear that the targeted vessels belong to 14 different countries. These attacks are believed to have Iranian support. Implicitly, this suggests that if Houthi militants do not cease their attacks, Iran may inevitably face a joint military action by these 14 countries. The U.S. Secretary of Defense emphasized that the attacks on U.S. military personnel will not be tolerated. It also highlighted the Houthi militants' connection to Iran. The statement's strong language implies that if Houthi militants continue their attacks, especially against U.S. military targets, the U.S. will take action against Iran. Analysis suggests that these attacks are related to the broader international geopolitical situation. The recent visit by Belarusian leader Lukashenko to Beijing may be linked to the 3 Baltic states' military action planning. It reflects an escalation of military actions by China and Russia on a global scale. The turmoil in the Middle East region could be aimed at diverting the attention of the U.S. On the same day, in the South China Sea, the USS Gabriel Giffords littoral combat ship arrived near 2nd Thomas Shoal, just 30 kilometers away from China's Mischief Reef, a man-made island. This high-tech, high-performance vessel is renowned for its trimaran design and rapid response capability, boasting a top speed of up to 50 knots, allowing it to easily navigate shallow waters for special operations and logistical missions. Equipped with helicopters and small boats, it can be rapidly deployed. Its aft design enables efficient recovery and release of small attack teams and armored vehicles. Essentially, it functions like a large waterborne motorcycle. The deployment of the USS Gabriel Giffords poses a direct strategic challenge to the CCP. While the CCP military has maintained a tough stance, their actual military response capabilities are limited. Would the CCP military dare to sink a U.S. littoral combat ship? It's unlikely. The U.S. continues to advance step by step. Meanwhile, the CCP has deployed 135 civilian vessels in the waters near the Whitsun Reef in the South China Sea. These solar-powered vessels are lined up side by side, occupying territories. This action is over 1,000 kilometers from mainland China's Hainan Island and just over 200 kilometers from the Philippines' Palawan Island. A 2016 international arbitration ruling determined that Whitsun Reef belongs to the Philippines, not China. The reason the CCP chose Whitsun Reef in the South China Sea as a primary target is due to its strategic geographic location. Whitsun Reef is adjacent to the CCP's man-made islands, including Hughes Reef and Johnson Reef. Less than 80 kilometers to the east of Whitsun Reef is Mischief Reef, another CCP-occupied reef, and about 30 kilometers to the northwest is Gavin Reef. This geographic layout makes Whitsun Reef a strategic importance, easily accessible by CCP reinforcement and maintenance. Analysis suggests that CCP's deployment of ships near Whitsun Reef is a first step in exerting military pressure on the Philippines. The goal is to push the Philippines to the negotiation table as a means to influence the Philippines internally. Insiders disclosed that at the negotiation table, the CCP proposed joint development of Whitsun Reef, accompanied by substantial financial commitments ranging from 20 billion to 200 billion US dollars, including a 20% commission for the Philippines team. This has raised concerns in the US, as many leaders in the Asia-Pacific region may be driven by self-interest and economic incentives. As a result, the US military has maintained a steadfast stance to deter the CCP from using force to pressure its neighboring countries. Despite facing this resolute position, Xi Jinping appears to remain undeterred. He visited the CCP's Armed Police Maritime Police Force Eastern Sea Area Command headquarters on November 29th, where he made a speech. Xi's directives have injected enthusiasm into the maritime police, encouraging them to take action, even at the cost of their lives. They have the belief that they would be hailed as heroes if they die, and that Xi would have their backs in any situation. On the US side, war preparation is also underway. Recent surveys indicate that 51% of Americans view China as the greatest threat. 74% are concerned about a potential conflict with China in the next 5 years. This shift in perception highlights not only an increased awareness of the threat posed by the CCP, but also underscores the US's determination to address this challenge comprehensively. The statements made by General Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States, reflect this determination. He emphasized that the U.S. military is prepared to face any form of conflict while also working diligently to prevent it. He noted peace through strength, underscoring that the strength of the U.S. military is crucial in maintaining peace and stability. General Brown's remarks indicate that the U.S. military is fully prepared. Should the CCP choose to engage in conflict, the U.S. military is ready at any moment. All preparations are geared towards winning the war and to be ready to counter any threat from the CCP. He reassured the American people to have confidence, carry on with their daily lives, and not to be unduly concerned about the CCP. This responsibility is entrusted to the U.S. military. General Brown's message is clear that the preparations extend beyond the military realm and encompass economic and diplomatic aspects as well. The United States is taking a comprehensive approach, ensuring readiness in various aspects to address the challenges posed by the CCP. A report from the Department of Defense has issued a warning to Congress. It highlights that since the end of the Cold War, the U.S. defense industry has seen a decline due to corporate mergers. Meanwhile, China has become a global industrial powerhouse in crucial sectors such as shipbuilding, mining, and microelectronics over the past 30 years. The report emphasizes that the U.S. defense industry is struggling to keep pace with China's rapid development. Traditional defense contractors cannot meet the demands of modern conflicts in terms of speed, scale, and flexibility. As a result, the report recommends harnessing the expertise of smaller companies and providing funding and support to traditional large enterprises to expedite the development of new technologies. The current issue lies in the fact that the United States manufactures the world's best weapons but cannot produce them quickly enough. The strategic risk has been increasing. The report calls on the U.S. Congress to allocate more funds for defense, ensuring that the U.S. military has adequate resources to deter potential adversaries and, when necessary, defeat them on the battlefield. While this may come at a high cost, the consequences of inaction or failure are deemed even more severe. Indeed, competition among major powers often centers around production capabilities and industrial strength. The United States is actively working on restoring and enhancing these capabilities across various sectors, including defense. The report, disclosed in November, serves as a message to the American people that the United States is taking comprehensive steps to boost its defense production capacity. It underscores the importance of being well prepared, especially in a global context where the possibility of major conflicts is a concern. The CCP has indeed been making comprehensive preparations in various sectors. Over the past several years, Xi Jinping has directed about 80% of the country's industrial capacity, including electricity, steel production, and chemical materials, towards defense production, which are core elements for military manufacturing. This shift in China's focus has resulted in a significant reduction in civilian industries, particularly in regions like the Pearl River Delta. Many factories have shifted from traditional export-oriented production to military manufacturing. This shift from peacetime to wartime production is evident in the nationwide efforts to increase production in various sectors, particularly the manufacturing of military equipment such as missiles and their internal circuit boards. Factories in regions like Zhejiang province have also been integrated into this production system. Additionally, even civilian enterprises started to participate in military production, including hardware processing, mold development, and drones and tanks manufacturing. The transformation by the CCP also involves adjustments within its political leadership. Some leaders with backgrounds in traditional industries or aerospace have been promoted to higher-level political positions, reflecting the increasing importance of defense production in their national strategy. This demonstrates the CCP's commitment to aligning its political leadership with its strategic priorities, particularly in national defense. The core of industrial production, including electricity, steel, and chemical output, indeed plays a crucial role in determining a country's military production capacity. Without these essential infrastructure and resources, any nation would find it challenging to engage in effective military production. The comprehensive shift towards military production, coupled with extensive military preparations, has been well documented by the media. All Americans are watching what comes next. The CCP may not dare to declare war with the US, but it continues to boast about its military capabilities. It even bragged about its air-to-air missiles just because they have a slightly longer range than the US ones. Recently, the People's Liberation Army released photos of its J-16 fighter jet carrying air-to-air missiles with ranges from 100 to 500 kilometers. China claims that, among these missiles, the PL-17 is capable of long-range engagement against US bombers, early warning aircrafts, and refueling aircrafts, thereby undermining US air superiority. The claims made by the Chinese military may be overstated. Launching a PL-17 missile from a J-16 against US aircraft from 600 kilometers away would require coordination with platforms like the KJ-500 early warning aircraft or advanced aircraft like the J-20 or J-16 for guidance. The synchronization of crucial data between these platforms is essential. Additionally, the US military's electronic warfare capabilities could significantly disrupt the CCP's operations. Even the assisting J-20 may be vulnerable to American aircrafts. The CCP was just exaggerating about its capabilities. The PL-17 missile is large in size. Heavy fighter jets like the J-16 can only carry 2 of them. Carrying more would limit their combat radius, thus restricting the possibility of large-scale deployment. The CCP plans to have over 350 J-16s in service by the end of the year, with each carrying 2 PL-17 missiles. In theory, it allows for the simultaneous launch of 700 missiles. However, consider the US military's suppression of this airfield during an actual conflict. Do you think these 350 aircraft can take off simultaneously? When then Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, didn't Xi Jinping say the following? The CCP electronic warfare capabilities are a generation behind the US. When American aircraft approach Chinese radars, they can't even detect them. Can these CCP fighter jets still take off? If they were to take off, the AI system of the US military would automatically seek targets and could potentially eliminate all 350 aircrafts. Sometimes, efforts are expended on unnecessary matters. Currently, the only Chinese Air Force aircraft capable of carrying the PL-17 is the J-16 fighter, but the J-16 is not a stealth aircraft. When facing stealth fighters like the F-22 and F-35, it has a significant disadvantage. For the US, simply pursuing long-range air-to-air missiles is technically achievable, as its solid propulsion technology is quite mature and advanced. If the sole focus is on range, adding a booster stage to the AIM-120 missile is not a major challenge. In the past, missile guidance was directly related to the radar on the aircraft carrying and launching the missile. The radar's ability to guide determined how far the missile could accurately engage targets. In that era, developing long-range air-to-air missiles did not make much sense. Indeed, the concept of A launches and B guides has become relevant. It utilizes stealth aircrafts like the F-22 and F-35 to guide long-range missiles launched from behind. In such a scenario, the extended range of air-to-air missiles becomes meaningful. But this requires developing advanced data links and coordination technology, addressing shortages in high-performance chips, improving computational speed, and enhancing the power supply of the engine for the aircraft. Additionally, achieving effective radar jamming and anti-jamming capabilities presents challenges. While the concept by the CCP is intriguing, putting it into practice can be quite challenging. In the past, when aircraft directly guided missiles they launched, the US Air Force emphasized the adaptability and precision of weapons. For example, the F-22's main weapons bay can internally carry 6 AIM-120 missiles. Even as the development of new long-range air-to-air missiles like the AIM-260 and long-range engagement weapon is ongoing, they are designed to be adaptable to multiple platforms, including the B-21 strategic bomber. Their size is comparable to the AIM-120. Although long-range air-to-air missiles have not been in service recently, in 2021, the US military mounted Standard 6 missiles, originally designed for Aegis-equipped warships, on a Super Hornet. It enables long-range air-to-air interception with a range of 400 kilometers. Additionally, the U.S. is actively developing sixth-generation fighter aircraft and AI technologies. The performance of U.S. military weapons in actual combat often exceeds their public technical specifications, because if they don't meet the advertised specifications on the battlefield, there can be legal consequences. In contrast, countries like China and Russia don't face such constraints. That is why their weapons often have impressive specifications, but may encounter numerous issues when put to practical use. As a result, people are used to seeing China and Russia's weapons being promoted as flashy, but not necessarily practical. People tend to take such claims with a grain of salt.